So my name's Eva. I'm from the partnerships team, Art Curriculum Plus. Previously a science teacher by trade, so this is very much not my subject area. So I'm going to hand swiftly over to my colleague Hannah, who will be talking to us about geography mastery.
Hi everybody, I'm Hannah, Head of Subject for Geography Mastery, and of course I have a geography teaching background. I'm really excited here today to tell you all about Geography Mastery. So a big welcome. We are a Key Stage 3 programme who offer support and guidance in curriculum, assessment and pedagogy, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do today. So we'll go through who we are and what we offer, and I'm also going to do a little focus on inclusion first design, thinking about our students with special educational needs and preparing for the upcoming national curriculum changes. We are very lucky that at Geography Mastery, we're very much part of the ARC family. And at ARC, we believe that all students, regardless of their background, are entitled to a great education and to make real choices in life. It's really what drives our thinking and our decision making. ARC is a wider educational charity, but as a schools trust, we're a network of 39 schools working across the Midlands and the south of England. Most of our schools have significant levels of disadvantage, including high levels of SEND and EAL needs. But despite these challenges, you'll see from the slide that many of our schools have above average Progress 8 scores at the secondary level. And that's something that we're really proud of. And we're excited to share with you today some of the work we can do that will really make a difference for your students. Art Curriculum Plus is a subject excellence programme and it's designed and developed with ARC schools. And we've worked with over 1,000 schools and over 300,000 students in maths, English, science and geography. Geography Mastery is one of the newer programmes of Art Curriculum Plus and it's been developed in pilot with ARC schools. Since 2023, we've had our official launch and now we're working nationwide with over 70 schools and that brings us to around 30,000 students that we're impacting. We're very much a community of schools seeking a better way of teaching geography made by teachers for teachers. If you have a look at our impact statistics on the slide, and I'll give you a moment to read those. A key impact that is meaningful to me is the difference we make to teachers who are either early career teachers or non-specialists, enabling them to teach great geography lessons. And this is an issue we know faces lots of schools at the moment. If you have a quick look at the diagram on the slide, it goes through our different program components, and I'll go through each of these today. So the main thing you might want to take from this diagram is how our program is holistic. So we're providing in-person support, CPD and assessment. It's really not simply handing over a suite of resources at all. So much more than that. So one of our first kind of unique offers, and perhaps the most important one, is our school support. As part of the programme offer, your school would receive 1 or 2 visits a year. We work directly with either the head of department or the head of Key Stage 3, and we work closely on the goals that you set that you'd like to achieve. We meet regularly also on a Teams call via our development sessions, we call them, and we're also always contactable at the end of an email. So there's always a human face to the work that we're providing. A second part of what makes us really special is the CPD offer. We have ongoing CPD, which is a mixture of on-demand and live training. And when our resources are used alongside our CPD support, we really find our resources have the highest impact for students and for teachers. Here on the slide, you can see a page on the platform where the teacher can track the CPD that they've done with us, and this progress can be viewed by their head of department and their SLT link as well. We also have our annual conference that we're really proud of. It's an excellent event with over 300 teachers that attend across all of our programs, and it's a really exciting day and a chance for teachers to really network together. We're really excited to be joined by the Geographical Association this year. We know the importance of designing assessment, right? That's fully in line with the curriculum offer and the opportunities this provides for data analysis. So I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about our assessment offer before moving on to talking about our main teaching and learning resources. So we have a strong programme of assessment. A key component of this is our end of year summer assessment. If you have a look at the slide on the right hand side, you'll see our summer assessment that provides a really comprehensive grade-based result from all the learning the students have done that year. We also have an autumn and spring diagnostic that really helps teachers to close the gaps ready for the end of year summer assessment. And I'll talk about each component now. So our summer assessments have, we always provide with our papers a detailed marking criteria for the teacher and exemplar responses. For the essay, we actually do that at every level. So 4 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4. So the teacher, when they're marking, can make that comparative judgment. Part of what's really exciting about assessment for us is our work with our partner SmartGrade, which is free to all of our GMS, our Geography Mastery partner schools. Notice the acronym there. So our Geography Mastery partner schools. So each year, students who sit their Geography Mastery papers make up one of the largest Key Stage 3 geography data sets in the country, because we have thousands of entries. And all the results of your schools can be compared across thousands of students, of course, anonymously, but this can provide really helpful benchmarking that helps the school provide insights for the summer assessment. And this is also really helpful for our termly diagnostic, because we provide multiple choice quizzes that are auto-marked, and that data can also be benchmarked and compared. What I really like about SmartGrid is it provides the heat map. If you see the sort of ABC tab table that is on the slide, so each column is a different question. So question 1, 84% unfit, just for the purposes of this, answer A is correct. Okay, so you've got the 84%, 55 and 63 correct. So question 1, 84% got it correct. Fantastic. Not much to do there. That's we can be confident that knowledge has been secured. Second question, only 55% of students have got this right. And what's quite interesting is highlighted in pink is the answer C. So 31% of students got it incorrect. Now that really highlights for the teacher that there's some kind of confusion, something about answer C that students thought was the right answer. So that's a clear misconception that the teacher can address. Now, this is a really great and powerful use of data analysis, and one that's done automatically and can be really helpful in our assessments as well. So that's something I'm quite excited about too. I'll move on now to looking at our curriculum resources. So this is kind of the heart of our offer. On the board here, you can see our curriculum overview and all of our exciting topics in year 7, 8, and 9. Take a moment to have a look at that. You might notice it's a bit small, but down the left-hand column, each of our year groups focuses on a different overall annual theme. So in year 8, for example, they're looking at this concept of sustainability. Can humanity live sustainably with the environment? And each of the topics leads towards that kind of broader goal. So the kind of narrative that's pushing through is really important. And as such, the topic order that we go through is also really important. Some practicalities here. We are taught over 3 years, so it's a full Key Stage 3 program. And there's about a unit per half term. And most of our schools will have 2 1-hour or 50-minute lessons per week. But we do provide guidance for schools where there is 3 lessons per fortnight, or 1 lesson, or 1.5 lessons per week on average. So what does that look like? We provide like a long-term plan. So in this 3 lesson per fortnight model, we'll recommend which lessons to focus on and which lessons that you might need to leave, and making sure that you've covered all the necessary learning for the assessments as well. We also helpfully label each lesson as either accessible or optional, so you can help navigate what lessons are more essential if you're stuck for time as well. Okay, I want to talk a bit about how Geography Mastery is taught in sequence. So the reason we suggest that our Geography Mastery program is taught in sequence is when we sequence carefully, we make complex ideas accessible for all. And this actually is going to reduce the attainment gap between those who naturally might achieve a bit quicker and those that need a bit more support. And this kind of builds knowledge for all over time. And it's a real important inclusion point for us as well. Let me give you an example of what this looks like in practice. So, for example, in year 8, students learn about the River Nile and the building of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. And there's some quite complex ideas we want them to learn here about geopolitical tensions and the impact of the dam on people and the environment. Have a read of the yellow box. It summarizes some of the learning that we want students to achieve. So this looks quite complex, but actually the reason students can access this by the beginning of year 8 in the unit River Rivals is so many different knowledge points in year 7 have led up to this more cumulative knowledge idea. I'll just scroll through a few there. So for example, in year 7, they've learned about bands of high and low rainfall. And then that's going to help them to support this idea of aridity in year 8. Equally, they might learn, they have learned in year 7 about the reliance on agriculture for income, which is also a factor. So if we build up incrementally all of these knowledge points, it supports students in year 8 all students to be able to access more complex knowledge. And that's why we believe that the curriculum is taught in a particular sequence. This type of mapping you see on the board has been done for every single lesson. So it's been really thoroughly thought through. Okay, so cumulatively, all of this points to our understanding. I want to focus now on the components of each unit, so you can see how we kind of work the nuts and bolts so students can really achieve throughout our each individual lesson. So each unit comes with a unit overview, which sets out the unit rationale, why we think the unit is important, the scope, what's in the unit, and the sequence, what's come before that has built up to this, and what is going to come next. That's all written down for our teachers. And then what we have each lesson is we have the core knowledge. Now, this is the real backbone of our curriculum, because the core knowledge is the accessible knowledge that we want students to retain by the end of the lesson. It's the knowledge that underpins the lesson. Doesn't mean the lesson's not analytical or discursive, but rather these are the key principles that when a student leaves, we want them to try and retain, which are then fleshed out in the lesson by the teacher. This document is very much teacher facing. The unit overview also provides information on the assessment that the students can be accessing to help support close those gaps. Now, the main student-facing booklet is the Mastery resource, is the Mastery booklet. Each lesson has a kind of 2 or 3 pages of, or actually 3 to 4 pages of within the Mastery booklet. And the Mastery booklet kind of brings the core knowledge to life in a student-friendly way. It's knowledge rich, but we've been really careful to chunk the information. And it includes lots of pictures and maps that brings the content to life. And students are able to sort of annotate and read this booklet together. We also have in tandem the lesson slides, and these complement the Mastery booklets. They kind of complement each segment of the lesson has a Mastery page and a slide. We recommend using, I'll just go through an example deck here for one lesson. And you can see the different components of the lesson too. So the do now, the new learning, check for understanding, develop learning, another check for understanding, the independent task, and the exit ticket. You'll notice there aren't that many slides, and this is deliberate to reduce the cognitive load on the students, with extra information is given in that Mastery booklet. The slide deck, you might want to have that raised if the teacher is delivering the lesson or an aspect of the lesson from the front, and then it's supplemented with the Mastery booklet as well. So we find this is kind of a really visual, great resource, and helps students to also see the instructions really clearly. So we use these two in tandem, the Mastery booklet and the lesson slides. We then have the teacher guidance booklet, which is the core resource for teachers that helps teachers with their planning and the delivery of the lesson. For example, we have tips for adaptation. We also have all the task answers in there as well, and provides an overview of what's coming up in the lesson. Lastly, in this section on key components, I want to talk to you about the unit assessment. And each unit here has formative assessment that is built in to help you identify the misconceptions and knowledge gaps. We actually do this at the beginning of the unit through the pre-unit quiz. So is there anything that they ought to have known but they've forgotten that we can recap? And we have a supporting lesson 1 recap lesson as well. And then we have the checkpoint assessment that checks that they have learned what they need to in the unit to progress. We also have specialist writing lessons as well that provide opportunity for essay writing and for the teacher to teach the students about essay writing skills. I'll pause there, Eva. Are there any questions so far about either the assessment or the teaching and learning resources that we've shared so far?
Not just yet, but if anyone does have any questions, please do put them in the chat and I'll feed them back to Hannah.
Perfect. So a couple of specific areas of our resource that I'd like to focus on is GIS and fieldwork opportunities. Now, we integrate these throughout the curriculum, and we know these are aspects that can often be overlooked due to practical constraints, budget constraints, and sometimes a lack of teacher expertise that causes teachers to have lack of confidence to deliver these elements. Now, these are national curriculum requirements, and they're really important aspects of what makes a great geographer. So it's really important we include these and we persistently make them accessible. Now, our teachers find that with the right resources and guidance, students can really address these skills successfully. And on the board, you can see an example of a Year 7 biomes fieldwork lesson and the use of Digimaps in Year 8 for examining GIS skills. And all of this culminates with a dedicated fieldwork unit in Year 9, where they also bring GIS into that. And it's just, I really want to stress that all the fieldwork that we provide is cost-friendly, can either be done on-site or locally. We have lots of recommendations for how to make it really practical and doable for the teacher. And we have CPD that guides teachers in this as well. So we're really drawing attention to ourselves as flying the flag for fieldwork and really making sure that is accessible for all schools. I want to focus a little bit today on the issue of SEND has been really key in our discourse this year, particularly with the white paper, and it's something that's on the mind of lots of teachers and schools. And I want to share what we're doing to meet these inclusion-first design principles at Geography Mastery. And we've thought a lot about how these resources can meet the needs of all students, and we really try and plan with students with additional needs at the front and centre. So there's 3 principles I'd like to share today. Firstly, we specify the core knowledge. We know that if teachers are fully mindful of where they want the lesson to go and have in mind the particular points they want students to come away knowing, they can ensure that all students have the right level of detail and come away from the lesson successful. Our second principle is having kind of friendly visual design. We've done lots of research with the Dyslexia Association to make sure all our fonts and formatting is dyslexia compliant. And we've thought about how to make our slides very uncluttered and user-friendly. And that's why we've separated out the slides from the mastery booklet as well. Our third principle is this idea that students we want to build their capacity to do skills, particularly geographical skills and literacy. For literacy, we provide chunk text and they're supported by glossaries for every lesson. And we provide teacher training on how to deliver this reading in a guided way. Particularly that enables students to, for example, to decode and draw meaning from the text. Here's a quick example here of how we're supporting the teachers with notes that we're encouraging them to make. And now another example is about skills. So we provide a skills map that shows the progression. So the first time spot height is taught, the second time spot height and contour lines is taught. And so teachers can make careful decisions about the level of detail in which they introduce each skill. And then we provide some suggested modelling steps for different skills. The one on the board here is about a Coropath map, and the teachers really thought here about the layers of detail they can help students to understand how to complete a Coropath map as well. And some of this teacher guidance is in our booklet, some comes through our CPD, and some comes through our in-person training when we complete school visits. And lastly, just to say that we have this guidance on adaptation. Here's an example on the board where for each lesson we provide tips for teachers and planning for particularly different ability groups and students with different needs, and an example of one of our conference sessions as well. So we're really focused on developing the teacher so they can provide the best provision possible. Lastly, I'd really like to focus here on preparing for the national curriculum upcoming in 2028. And this is something that you might have already been thinking about with the upcoming curriculum changes. Many of the changes suggested by the preliminary curriculum and assessment review recommendations we feel we already have in place, and I'll share those with you first. So firstly, around climate change, which needs to be more prominent in the curriculum. In Year 8, we have a dedicated climate change unit, but we also integrate climate change in multiple units across the key stage. Second of all, we have fieldwork, GIS and skills that we know need to become more of a focus. And we have integrated fieldwork and GIS and skills and made a plan to show how these progress through our skills maps as well, providing really careful guidance for teachers on these. And thirdly, case studies. We really make sure our case studies are really up to date. The advantage of being a kind of a digital program is that we can continually, rather than traditional publishing, as we can continually update our case studies to make sure they're contemporary and reflect the real world that is out there, especially in geography, which is responding to a rapidly changing world. And lastly, oracy skills was a key feature that was mentioned not just in geography, but across the board. And we have dedicated oracy lessons that encourage student debate and presentations. And we provide guidance so that students of all different needs and abilities can access these lessons. Once the full curriculum guidance is released, we will be combing through our curriculum in a lot of detail and our assessment resources to make sure that everything is fully national curriculum compliant. So that is very much a load taken off your mind, as we will support schools with every step of that journey. And lastly, we just want to mention that the many opportunities to network with other schools, whether via our conference, our national conference, or teacher expert panels, where we invite teachers to give feedback and build the programme, or our showcase events where you can see Geography Mastery live in action. So a lot to look forward to. I'm going to pause now on our presentation and just ask if there are any questions.
we've not got anything in. Oh, we do have something in the chat. I've jumped the gun there. We've got a question asking, what do they suggest for schools that are making the transition to ARC for a September 2026 start? And is there anything you'd recommend to bridge the gap between taking the step to the mastery content?
Is this for Eva? Is this for a school that's taking on board the content?
Yeah, so if a
Going
school was launching with ARC Curriculum Plus for this September, how would you recommend bridging the gap to that launch?
So I think a key component there will be your welcome call with your delivery lead, and they will be able to support you to make a real a plan bespoke to your school that can support that integration. So, for example, something you might want to think about is how the resources with fresh face year sevens might be different if you're rolling them out to existing year nines who have learned different topics already. So that's something that the delivery lead can support you with in the welcome call and make an action plan going forwards, I think.
For sure. And I also think it's worth noting in the summer term as well. So for any school launching in September, as soon as an agreement is signed in the summer term, you'll get immediate access to the resources to help with preparation. So you'll access the My Mastery platform. And we also have face-to-face induction dates that take place in the summer term, which are really useful for schools to be able to attend, to get that under the hood of the program a little bit, understand exactly what the key resources are and how to really get going properly in September. So between the welcome call from the development lead as well as the face-to-face induction, or the on-demand induction module if you're not able to attend face-to-face, those different components help with transitioning to that launch in September.
And Eva, I think we've certainly found that schools where the whole department is able to attend that induction day and all teachers are fully inducted and trained up, it takes a load off the head of department for that training. And then all the teachers are really confident to hit the ground running with the program in September. And it's quite a fun day as well, where you get to meet teachers from other schools and get to really dig into the program in detail. So I think that's a really great point to mention too.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Are there any other questions at all? Please do put them in the chat as and when you think of them. Um, while we kind of allow people a moment to think of if they've got any other questions at all, if you would like to kind of talk a little bit about how geography might look in your specific school context, you can book a discovery call with me or a member of the geography team to be able to talk about how we would support with that implementation, as well as also going over in a bit more detail how things might work within your context, i.e., like Hannah mentioned, with your particular timetabling requirements, other things like that. And if you'd like to have a little look at some of our sample resources that we've got available, you can also download the program preview using this QR code here. But that's it from me from a partnerships side. If you did have any questions at all, please do either drop us an email or give us a call. Happy to talk through anything. But otherwise, happy to end there. Hannah, anything else from you?
I think that's fine. Yeah, please just do be in touch. We're always happy to pick up a call or answer any questions.
Fab. All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.